You're listening to Big World Network.
Phineas Frakture and the Curse of Steamotep, Episode 9, written by Joseph Gatch, read by Michael Young. After sending a message to Inspector Manifold with the location of his killer, Phineas, William, and Eshok checked the area for any signs of their wayward mummy. If you were a 3,000-year-old mummy wandering around the streets of 19th century New York, where would you go? Asked Phineas. The museum? Answered William questioningly. He wouldn't know what a museum was. Eshok? Any ideas from you? Nothing. I am still shaking in fear that he is alive. Well, you two are of no use. You must think logically. Obviously he did not go the way that we came, or we would have heard screams of panic. Well, more than we heard, anyway. Phineas began pacing behind the remains of the brownstone. A man out of time, he muttered. He comes up these stairs. He is faced with a new environment. He's an architect. He wants to find out where he is. He goes... A clock chimed in the not-too-far distance. Phineas smiled and whirled around, pointing to a tower rising above the rooftops. There! How long have we been here? William checked his watch, but seemed redundant to Phineas since the tower was within plain sight. About 20 minutes, I guess. And he would have been coming out of the cellar at approximately 4 o'clock. If you were an ancient mummy engineer, wouldn't you be interested in something that goes bong? I know that you would, replied William. Precisely. And that is where we will find him. Come along, you two. It seems that time is on our side after all. The thrum of the airship's engines made its presence known. 3 sets of eyes looked up, trying to see how far away it was. Looks to me as if time has run out, mentioned William as the nose of the airship appeared over the building. We need to run. Keep under as much cover as you can, and don't make a sound, said Phineas. Above, several lions dropped from the deck of the airship, and helmeted figures clad in black uniforms began sliding down the ropes towards the gutted brownstone. Meanwhile, the trio made their way towards the clock tower, keeping quiet and frequently checking over their shoulders for any sign of pursuit. "Do you think they saw us?" asked William, once they were at the door of what turned out to be a huge clockworks factory. "It doesn't seem to," said Phineas. "However, keep your guard up." "Could he really be here?" asked Eshok nervously. Phineas's eyes were drawn to the door handle, where a scrap of resin-coated cloth hung from it. "I would say that I was right, as usual. We must be careful not to scare him." Phineas opened the door and went inside. "Scare him? What about scaring us?" asked William. "I am not liking this," stated the Egyptian as he followed them in. It was becoming so customary for the automaton around Eshok's neck to translate for him that it was almost easy to forget that they weren't always a package deal. "We will surely find despair inside." "Will you please stop with this despair already?" hissed William. "You're making me despair." "See," replied Eshok, "it is starting already. We are all doomed," Sweepo's head added in a haunting tone, mocking both men. There was a muffled clunk as William smacked the interpreter, sending it swinging into the doorframe. The interior was deserted, since it was the weekend. The large room that served as the entrance was also the base of the tower. It was littered with gears and shelving that housed crates, filled with all manner of parts used in the construction of clocks. Phineas was in a state of elation, being in such proximity to the trade of his father. He could name every piece he saw, and explain what each was used for, and what the exact placement of every part should be. "Do you see him?" asked William. "No," Phineas answered as he was shaken from his past. "He wouldn't be down here." He looked upwards, through the stairwell, straining his eyes to see the top of the tower. Up there! That's where I would go to get a better look at the mechanism and the city. He led the way up the stairwell, trying to be quiet. However, the dry timbers creaked and groaned with each step they took. William was panting by the time they reached the top. "That's it. No more pastries for me," he said to himself. The room was filled with the noise of the clockwork gears, while the setting sun's light streamed through the stained glass of the clock face, illuminating the dust that was stirred up from the breeze flowing through the tower. A shadow darted across one of the beams of light, stopping the trio in their tracks. "Hello?" called out Phineas. "What are you doing?" whispered William. Phineas waved him off. "Hello?" he called again. There was a shuffling in the corner, and a clang as something was knocked over. Then a clicking sound came from behind them, and Phineas realized that it was the sound of Eshok's teeth chattering. Phineas turned his attention back to the corner. Slowly, from behind some crates, a figure emerged. Strips of cloth hung from its arms as they stretched out towards the men. A raspy voice, like dry pieces of paper being rubbed together, said something incomprehensible, and an ancient wrench came up, pointing at Phineas. A scream of terror went up from the stairwell, followed by a thud and the sound of footsteps charging down the stairs. Eshok had thrown down his translator and fled in terror. "Poor boy has lost his head," said Phineas. "Retrieve that for me, will you, William?" he asked, indicating Sweepio. He kept his eye on their dehydrated disciple of Ra, while William cautiously retrieved the head. The mummy again said something, but made no attempt to throttle either of them. "What's he saying?" asked William as he returned to Phineas's side. "Again? Have I learned Egyptian in the last few hours? I think not," Phineas scolded. "Besides, our friend has fled. No chance of knowing now." "Excuse me, sir," interjected Sweepio's head, "but I may be able to translate. It is, after all, a dialect that can be extrapolated from combining several currently used languages native to that region." "All right, just shut up and tell me what he's saying," snapped Phineas. "He is saying, 'Help me. Please end my curse.'"
You're listening to Big World Network.